Hey guys, Megonath here, and welcome back to another episode of Kyle is Famous. Let's see, where's Mass? There it is.
Kyle woke up.
That's fine. Okay. Let's exit the bed. Open the closet. Choose. It was really dark and he could only see his hanging shirts. Choose an
Kyle
outfit.
decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is.
Jeans and swimming goggles.
Kyle decided on a fashion-forward, casual style. He could barely see out of the goggles.
Back to the room. Scavenge.
Kyle quickly crouched down on the floor, realizing his immediate need for...
the little scuba gear up there. Gossip.
Kyle firmly pressed his ear into the carpet, hoping to hear some stray words from the neighbors below. I heard Rachel May is going on a trip out of the country soon. Oh, girlfriend, tell me more! Well, what I will tell you is that every night I don a mask that looks like a bug and fight misdoers. There was a stunned silence. Then, a door opened, and someone exited the neighbor's apartment.
Okay, so bug of vigilante. Kyle will return to the center of the room. Okay, let's exit to hallway. Go to the kitchen, make some food.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat condiments. I need to try that
Kyle
one.
constructed a breakfast of poached eggs and toast, along with a small fruit cup and grilled sausage. Kyle ate his breakfast slowly and thoughtfully, enjoying every bite. He felt refreshed.
I still don't like that. Turn to the kitchen. Turn to hallway. Leave apartment. Visit downstairs neighbor.
Kyle approached his downstairs neighbor's door
I like
and
the screen,
knocked.
I like how the screen jiggled for the knocking. Vibrated, that's another way to say it.
A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door.
Consume, Gabby. Huh. Greet and start conversation.
Good morning, neighbor, said Kyle cheerfully. Gabby looked at Kyle expectantly. Gabby, asked Kyle, are you the bug vigilante? For a moment, Gabby looked stunned, but then she realized his seriousness. Gabby nodded once. The door shut in Kyle's face.
What? Okay. Can I gossip about that on the show?
Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. Good evening, Kyle, she said, looking him in the eyes. I've been looking forward to being here. Kyle responded. And I as well, Rachel, answered Kyle, extending his hand in greeting. You are a most welcome guest. After other mild exchanges of pleasantries, Kyle and Rachel were prompted to take their places for the broadcast. A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on. Good evening, everybody, said Kyle. My neighbor is a bug vigilante. With nothing more to say on the matter, he fell silent. Rachel, also on camera, stared at her hands and wondered when she was going to be introduced. The producer started cutting to different camera angles to break the tension. Kyle continued to remain silent and stare forward blankly.
How did Kyle get famous is my question.
After several minutes, neighbor Gabby walked out onto set. Hi, everyone, she said, smiling hollowly. My name is Gabby, and I'm not a bug vigilante. False. Kyle looked at Gabby and then returned to staring forwards. Gabby began to reply, but was interrupted by a bug-shaped intercom on her belt.
Oh my god.
Bug girl,
It squawked.
a robbery's in progress on East 3rd. Report immediate.
Gabby threw the intercom on the ground and crushed it under her foot. After a beat, she spoke tightly. "Something has come up suddenly and I must go." Gabby left the set.
Jesus Christ.
"Well," said Kyle, "that's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us, Rachel." Kyle got up, shook Rachel's hand again, and walked past the cameras, leaving her alone. Not knowing what else to do, the producer ended the broadcast. In the coming days, fans of both Rachel and Kyle dubbed this show as a masterpiece of television.
How?
Stay Up Late with Kyle's online pages were updated to reflect this broadcast as the most popular ever.
How?
Kyle's producer later tried to have Rachel on the show again, but she was very, very, very busy.
Kyle talking about Gabby. And, like, you know, completely, ruined her secret identity. Okay, exit the bed. Open closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose.
Skunk pasties.
Kyle chose the pasties made out of mashed skunk flesh. Getting the slimy garments to stay proved difficult, so Kyle opted to stick them to his body with hot glue.
I'm sorry, what? Okay. I really want to eat condiments.
Kyle started to grab condiments from the fridge, squirting them into his mouth with both hands.
Gross.
Ketchup, horseradish, and mayonnaise entered Kyle's mouth at a rate that soon overwhelmed his ability to swallow.
Ew. Ew.
Kyle spewed the excess condiment slurry across the kitchen, covering the furniture and walls.
Gross.
Kyle continued until all of the condiments had been emptied.
It counts as food, I guess. Return to hallway. Let's leave. Visit tech store. Kyle walked into the clean white tech store. He was greeted by Techno Jim, an elaborate cutout mascot playing soft music from a small microphone. Let's steal him.
Quickly, before the attendant could acknowledge him, Kyle grabbed Techno Jim by the shoulders. Finding that Techno Jim's cardboard feet were bolted to the ground, Kyle started to heave upwards. After several tugs, Techno Jim broke free, leaving one foot and one leg behind.
Interesting.
Kyle glanced at the attendant, who was staring, bewildered, and ran outside.
This is a man wearing skunk pasties made of skunk flesh, hot glued to himself. And he just stole a cardboard cutout. Okay. Skip to the end of the day.
Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. "Good evening, Kyle," she said, looking him in the eyes. "I've been looking forward to being here."
And we're going to interview the cardboard cutout instead.
Kyle roughly shoved Rachel out of her seat and placed Techno Jim in her stead.
Oh boy.
"Hello, Techno Jim," said Kyle. "I'm going to interview you today." Kyle grasped Techno Jim's hand and tried to shake it, but instead tore it off the cardboard frame. Kyle's producer, sensing viral media, pulled the bewildered Rachel out of frame and motioned the crew to go live. Cameramen moved, lights flashed, and suddenly the studio was on air. "Hi, I'm Kyle," said Kyle, "and tonight I'm going to interview a very special guest." He pointed at Techno Jim using the dismembered arm.
Oh boy.
Techno Jim started to smoke from the heat of the lights.
Oh boy.
"Would you like to introduce yourself?" asked Kyle. Knowing Jim would probably not speak, Kyle took it upon himself to be his voice as well.
Oh boy.
"Hi, Kyle," he he said, raising the pitch of his voice. My name is Rachel
no.
May, and I'm a very special guest. Rachel's expression of confusion turned to shock.
Oh boy.
Well, Rachel, you look way too thin and absolutely terrible, and you should feel ugly. Kyle gave Jim a meaningful stare.
What?
Wow, Kyle, he said.
Oh my
I
God.
sure wish I could look like you. Techno Jim burst into flames. Instantaneously, the sprinkler system initiated.
Oh, there's
Curtains
a
of water
water
poured down
droplets.
from the
That's cool.
rafters. Within seconds, the production equipment was doused in water. The set was soon abuzz with electrical fires. Kyle's crew abandoned their posts as cameramen and sound mixers to try to put the fires out. As the crew scrambled around, the cameras continued to run. Kyle sat, motionless, staring forward. Eventually, the fires were all put out. Kyle's producer shut off the broadcast, leaving Kyle's vacant stare as the final frame.
Terrifying.
Kyle's rating skyrocketed.
Mmm.
Techno Jim became a staple on the show, often ending up destroyed by the end of each episode. Although Rachel did not come back on the show, her cardboard portrayal did. Rachel was very popular.
New background. Okay. Ooh. Oh. Okay. Cool.
Kyle woke up. He is famous.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Okay. Let's exit the bed. Open the closet. That's cool. I like the little. Cool. Let's see. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is.
Like how nobody said anything about the skunk flesh pasties.
Kyle miraculously crammed his dumpy body into the suit. The chest pockets were filled with random knickknacks.
Okay. Exit there, and then kitchen, open fridge.
Kyle opened the fridge, intending to find something to eat.
Eat the crust on the fridge wall.
Kyle started scraping streaks of crud and spots of mold off of the walls of his fridge.
Gross.
After wadding it into a crusty, moist
No.
ball, Kyle
No.
popped it into his mouth and began to
No.
chew.
Nope.
Several minutes of crunching later, Kyle finished and swallowed the ball whole. It felt sticky in his stomach.
Return the hallway. Check locked door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Force door with forehead.
Kyle decided it would be best to try to force the door open with use of his face. After smashing his features into solid wood for several minutes, Kyle gained severe short-term amnesia.
Okay.
Kyle hurried to the set. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. "Good evening, Kyle," she said, looking him in the eyes. "I've been looking forward to being here." Kyle responded.
Forget her name from Amnesia.
"Hello. You?" Kyle's ears began to ring from his concussion. Rachel looked at Kyle, slightly confused, but continued smiling. Before she noticed the glazed look in Kyle's eyes, the producer approached.
Time to get started.
He said, putting a hand on Kyle's shoulder.
Let's get stationed.
Kyle sat in the nearest chair, which was Rachel's. After a moment, Rachel hesitantly sat in the host chair. A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on.
Oh no.
Good morning, everyone, said Kyle. My name is... Kyle made a desperate effort to remember his name, or really anything. Kyle looked at Rachel. Do you know who I am? He asked. Rachel looked back, confused. Who are you? Well, if you're not Kyle, I don't know who you are. Rachel smiled sweetly. Kyle made up his mind that he was probably Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said, I'm Kyle. Eventually, Rachel spoke again. And I'm Rachel. Hi, everyone. She waved. Hi, Rachel, said Kyle. So why are we here? Rachel was visibly worried. Ha ha, funny, she said. Weren't you planning on asking me any questions? I mean, I don't have any ideas, said Kyle. Kyle kept staring at Rachel. Someone coughed. Kyle looked around and noticed the crew. Who on earth are all of you? He asked. Nobody answered. Kyle got out of his chair and walked off frame, leaving Rachel alone with millions of viewers. Rachel smiled at the camera nervously. Well, she said, let me tell you some knock-knock jokes.
Oh no.
Eventually, the producer ended the broadcast early due to technical issues. Kyle woke up in his bed the next day, remembering nothing about what had happened.
Ah, yes, brain trauma. Kyle forgot everything. Okay, let's see. Reset. Wither away.
Kyle decided to stay put and wither away. Kyle withered successfully and died.
Shucks.
Kyle is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities.
Shucks. Okay. We're a ghost now, technically. Check locked door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Float through as a ghost.
Kyle used his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door.
Check supernatural artifact. Get laser claymore. Check sewing machine. Artifact.
This was one of the many mysterious artifacts Kyle had been sent over the years.
Smash.
Kyle began pounding the mysterious artifact with both fists. Within a few hours, it had become dust.
Okay.
An ancient force trapped in the artifact was released and turned Kyle into a lizard demon.
Lizard demon. Okay. Skip to the end of the day.
Kyle hurried to the set. Per normal, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled.
You can spin it! Oh my god, this is the best thing ever. I can spin the flashlight. Look at the flashlight go. That should not make me as... Oh, I can't spin and do both. I'm sad.
Rachel's smile turned to horror as she realized she was looking not at a human, but a lizard demon. Pandemonium ensued. Scripts went flying, crew members ran in all directions, lights were knocked over. As Kyle watched the chaos around him, his lizard demon form enveloped his last shred of humanity. Kyle grew to a massive size. Within minutes, he had demolished the now empty set. A local force of 5 spunky teenagers in brightly colored apparel arrived at the scene to fight Kyle.
Oh boy.
As the teenagers swung at him with their spunky, individualized weapons, Kyle pushed them over with his foot. Kyle's rampage of the studio ruins continued, but in another part of the city, a hero was rising up.
This better be Bug Girl.
In a dusty apartment on the top floor of an old skyscraper in the oldest part of town sat a large man named Frank. Few people in the world knew that Frank existed. Fewer knew his name. Frank was watching the local news. A story about the studio rampage was playing. Quickly, Frank got up from his chair. He opened a small door hidden behind a poster on his wall. Inside was an unbelievable mound of fat-ridden foods, unrefrigerated and fairly rotten.
Gross.
Frank began to consume the mound at a frightening rate. His body began to puff. Frank expanded, faster and faster with each minute. He burst through the roof. Within minutes, Frank was a towering behemoth.
Huh.
He rolled across the city, rebounding off of buildings and getting cheers from onlookers below.
Oh my god.
Approaching Kyle, Frank gave a long, painful heave upwards into the sky. To Kyle, the sky turned black. He looked upwards to see the monstrous figure hurtling towards him. And in a moment, Kyle was completely enveloped in rubbery fat, unable to move or make noise.
Uh-huh.
Frank was quite tired and passed out where he lay. Several years went by as Frank slumbered. As Kyle was held in Frank's warm, fatty embrace, his humanity began to return.
There's so many options I want to put on the thumbnail.
When the first winter came, Frank's body recycled his fat for resources. Over many months, he shrank in size. Eventually, Kyle was human and Frank was thinned. They both walked away from the scene as new men. Neither realized how much time had passed.
I don't know how to react to some movies. My brain just kind of like shuts off.
Kyle decided to stay put and wither away. Kyle withered successfully and died. Kyle is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities.
Sadness.
Kyle knelt down and inspected the old rusty Kyle quickly crouched down. Kyle started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two.
Actually, okay, let me do this. Okay, so wither away. Get out of bed. Open the closet. Choose an outfit.
Kyle decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit.
Goggles. Scavenge for
Kyle quickly
bugs.
crouched down on the floor. Kyle started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two. Soon, he had a small handful of various insects, dead and alive.
Save for later use.
Kyle stashed the wriggling mass for later use.
I like how there was a crunching noise. Okay. Exit to bedroom hallway. Check locked door.
Kyle walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside.
Through as a ghost.
Kyle used his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door.
Go inside. Check sewing
Kyle
machine.
walked over to the dilapidated sewing machine. Its box was only half removed.
Make bug puppets.
Kyle started sewing dead bugs together to make small, actuated finger puppets. Kyle crafted a bug puppet for each finger. He named them after guests he had previously interviewed on his show.
Okay, back to the hallway. Move to kitchen. Open fridge. Eat breakfast.
Kyle ate.
Okay. Skip to the end of the day.
Kyle hurried to the set. Per normal, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived. Sitting across from his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Kyle approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. "Good evening, Kyle," she said, looking him in the eyes. "I've been looking forward to being here." Kyle responded.
Politely.
"And I as well, Rachel," answered Kyle, extending his hand in greeting. "You are a most welcome guest." After
Shake
other
hands.
mild exchanges of pleasantries, Kyle and Rachel were prompted to take their places for the broadcast. A moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on. Kyle slipped his bug puppets onto his fingers. "Hello, everybody," he said, wiggling the puppet he had named after himself. "I'm Kyle."
And I'm Rachel!
Kyle screamed, wiggling a different finger.
You're so much better than me!
Oh my god.
I know, Rachel. Kyle wiggled. He looked meaningfully at the human Rachel. Said one of Kyle's other puppets.
Oh
I'm
no.
super fat, and Kyle interviewed me last week.
And I'm super irritating,
Said another finger.
and not very attractive.
Rachel stared at Kyle, incredibly disoriented.
I definitely feel that way, yes.
Kyle? She asked. What are those puppets made out of? Kyle thrust both hands at Rachel's face. Puppets pointed at her eyes. We aren't puppets, Rachel, he said, scrunching his fingers up and down. We're people!
Mm-hmm.
Rachel plucked her puppet off of Kyle's finger. Kyle, she exclaimed, this is several dead bugs patched together.
Accept us, Rachel.
Said Kyle, scrunching.
We need acceptance.
Okay, give me one sec. Doing that sign.
Rachel stood and walked out of frame. In a moment, she returned with a bag. She plucked each puppet off of Kyle's hands and tossed them in the bag.
Oh no.
Kyle, leave the bugs alone next time, she said. Rachel left the frame again, taking the bag of puppets along with her. Kyle, suddenly by himself, was unsure what to do. After a few moments of hemming and hawing, Kyle resorted to telling jokes for the remainder of the broadcast.
Huh.
Fans did not notice much difference between this and previous episodes.
Compared an average episode. Interesting. Okay. I am going to end this episode of Kyle is Famous Here. If you guys like it, hit that like button. Let's see more of my content. Hit the subscribe button for me to be notified whenever I upload. Hit that notification bell. And subscription links to my Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, merch stores, all that fun jazz, along with the game store page and the game devs link as well. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.